Now, to prepare Darcy Bussell for the judging panel, we wondered why she was sent on a BBC hostile environment training course, but then we realised she'd be sitting between Craig and Len. Here's your guide to our new girl.
Darcy is considered one of the best ballerinas of all time.
I saw Darcy when she performed in The Prince of the Pagodas at Covent Garden. She just was extraordinary. You get people like that like once in a generation.
Darcy Bussell on Series 6, dancing a little bit of ballroom with a couple of hunky guys. She has a wealth of experience. Once you can judge one genre, you can judge them all.
She's a phenomenal dancer, and it'd be really, really interesting to see what she brings to the panel.
Once you perform at the top of your game, you have plenty of insight to give of how to achieve the top at your game.
Guys, chatty. We're not doing anything aggressive here.
She knows what it takes to make a champion.
There is an insight that you gain by being a performer of that level that is unrivaled.
Welcome Darcy, Alicia and Bruno! Yay! Guys, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All three of you.
Look at this. It's like being a James Bond set. Look at these girls.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
And you're
a
James
lucky
Bond.
guy.
Yeah.
I like to be.
Darcy, how are you and how did you find it?
It was nerve-wracking, I can't say. I mean, I feel like I've been thrown in the deep end with all these guys, you know, have had the last 3 months, you know, ticking it off and doing a brilliant job, and well, you got the flair, you really have.
You did a brilliant
That's
job.
very kind.
You went straight in like a winner.
Oh, thank you.
And also, you've been totally involved. You've watched us, I
I've been a
apologise.
very dedicated viewer, yeah.
And the main show. And is it true that you prepared yourself by having Latin lessons?
I did want to go out there and have an idea of what it felt like to be... Well, I didn't want to do the ballroom because I suppose it's quite similar to a classical ballet world. So I wanted to try some Latin American. And it's quite interesting how different, but actually how similar as well, because the classical ballet world is kind of contrived, and we're so mad about the technique and the line and all the finicky little things we try and, you know, perfect. And it's very similar in the ballroom world, Latin American world, where, you know, it's really contrived as well. I mean, the steps and the hip and the arm and the angle of the head and the techniques are just unbelievable.
Yes, and controlling your turnout.
Yeah,
That's
and all in heels.
difficult.
I mean, you don't slip. I mean, how do they not slip? I slip all over the time. I fell over nearly twice trying to do that.
No!
On my face. Fell around like that.
I have important news to share.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
With the people who are... I mean, I believe you know, otherwise this really has become James Bond. In a very exciting move, this is for people who are watching, on Saturday night there is no dance-off. None.
Dun, 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 dun.
So you guys score.
I
and
know
that with... I know.
Because I spoke with M on the phone. Judy Dench actually called me.
But it means it doesn't take the pressure off you because you still score, and that'll be amounted with the public vote.
Yes.
But I imagine you
Takes the power away from us.
But the thing is, I think at this stage, I think it's quite wise because there's only 3. The difference is going to be minuscule.
Yeah.
And I think it's very much the public will have a very, very important say, whatever. You score them. So I think it's quite right, I think, in this situation.
I agree. We're going to look at our 3 finalists in detail. We'll talk about their strengths and their weaknesses.
Okay.
First up, let's talk about Ricky. Now, here he is on Saturday night. He's brilliant. Let's talk... Bruno, what do you love about him?
Well, he's wonderful. He can do ballroom, he can do Latin. When he doesn't go wrong, which he didn't, he's just one of the best men we've ever had. And look at that. And he mastered both techniques beautifully. And I think what happens, people take him for granted. And it could be an upset. I say, people, watch this guy, because this is one of the best ones.
Alicia, is it because he... I mean, we should also say he got 3 10s, that foxtrot, in amongst the other judges. Is it because he's not getting as many of the votes because he was in the bottom 2?
Yeah,
is it because he started off so well?
Exactly. He's been ahead of the game from the get-go, so people presume, I think, that Ricky's going to be fine. But actually, he deserves his place so much. He's been so consistent. And, you know, he's been in the dance-off a couple of times. It's OK. Dust himself. I was in the bottom 2 in the quarterfinal.
It
happens. You just got to forget about it. it and move
it's also
on.
incredibly good for him to be in the bottom because it will just up his game and realise that he's got to do something else now.
Exactly.
Yes. And what else is that he has to do?
I think it's this character, his personality's got to come out. He's got to be a bit more of a performer.
Yes.
Because all the technique is there. All the technique there, and I think he's relying a bit on his groove and his natural ability and his sex appeal.
He's got
and
the
now,
flair.
And now it's got to be, I think, maybe play on a bit of a character. Maybe they could do a little
Well, I think
joke
the
or
thing is, when
acting.
you maintain a standard that's so high for a very long time, people say, oh yeah, he's all right.
Or you think it might come easy.
Or you think it might come easy, and in fact, and you know that, the hardest thing about dancing is making it look easy.
Yeah, yeah.
That is really,
that's
what you're trying to do for years and years and years. And people say, oh yeah, that was that. Oh yeah, he's all right.
He's doing
It's easy
things
for
though that
him,
I've
you
never
know.
seen male
And he's
celebrities on this
fabulous.
show
But
do
now
before.
he's turning out and everything.
And his
He
feet
has
are
worked
under
on
control.
stage.
I know. Don't
Sorry.
be grumpy with me. I felt quite scared. But we have to talk about Chris and Ola because we have to cover
Oh, yeah,
all
okay,
of
okay.
it. Now, Chris and Ola, very popular with the public. The most extraordinary chemistry between these two.
Yeah.
You feel like they're going to be friends
Constipated,
for life.
constipated.
Okay, so don't.
So bored
Sorry.
of the face thing now.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm, I raised
Now,
something about
romance.
that back in the day, but he's getting better.
He's getting better, but he's still.
He
There's a
improves so
moment
much.
it is wonderful.
Okay,
Yeah?
go on,
He's all
let's have
happy, and then he goes like.
I
kills it. It
I felt on
kills it.
Saturday that he was dancing from his heart. I
Yes.
really felt that.
There
yes,
was a genuine,
he pulls
yeah.
expressions that some of the judges don't particularly like, but you kind of got to see past that now. We've
Well,
got to
no,
move-
he's got to change it, though. If he wants to be in the
but
finals,
it's not about his
but he's
mouth area.
concentrating all in his face.
I felt something when he danced that waltz.
Did you?
I think
I
it was
know.
romantic.
I felt constipation.
No.
The thing, no, I'm apart from
you.
that. The thing is, technically, he's not the strongest one, but people love him. I love him because
think,
when he
yeah.
comes out there, you feel it's your mate that has made it.
I think
but
he can do the steps
technically,
now.
he's not as good as the others.
Yeah, but I
Hold
think
on, but
actually he
Darcy's
could,
saying
no,
he
I
could-
think now he's got the confidence where he could actually pull off the steps. He's just got it. Ola's got to give them to him now.
Yeah.
And I think he shouldn't be scared of that. He's very like, oh, I know I'm good at this, and I know I'm bad at that.
Yeah.
Where I think now he's got to actually believe in himself.
Let's
in
have
the
a look
bad
at
bits.
Ali and Brian, who you loved at the weekend.
Yes.
Beautiful. Is her, if you like, weakness, her Latin? We're looking at the ballroom now, where she was fantastic. Darcy, you said something fascinating, was that she was shaking. She looks nervous.
Totally. She
I
was
don't
shaking
see
like a
that
leaf.
from the
Well,
telly.
because they're in hold. They're constantly in hold, so he's got her. But as soon as she comes out, you can see this little and the little expression on her face.
Alicia, what do you think? What do you love about her?
I think Ali's just a genuinely lovely, sweet girl who's very humble, and she's always had that nervous energy from the get-go. I don't think that's something you're ever going to completely knock out of her. It's just in her being.
Yeah.
She's a great dancer, though. Period.
Yeah, she is. The thing is, I try to explain to her from the beginning, you have to assume a character. A dancer is a performer. It's like a singer is like an actor.
Yeah, she is
It's
an
not
actress.
Yeah, but
Is
she's
she doing the
still
samba?
not quite sometimes.
Should be acting those now.
She needs to act it. She's got all the technique. She's the best technician we have. She doesn't play the character 100% yet, especially in the Latin.
Okay.
She's got to
But
become
Alicia
somebody
loved
else.
this Latin. I loved
Oh,
this
no,
Latin.
I
You said
loved
it was the
it.
best
I thought it was
samba of the...
It is the best samba of the series. You never see female celebrities doing that.
She just loses, she gets a bit self-conscious.
She does.
Halfway
She
through.
does.
And that's the only thing that lets her down, that she's got to keep going. She
okay.
mustn't let that get her. But I think if she could just breathe with it, so she just get rid of those
She does hold
nerves.
her breath.
She holds her breath all the way through.
Yes,
she
she
didn't
does.
breathe once. And then it will create much more of an atmosphere as well.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you. It's
There's
the
only three
Bond set.
couples,
Short
isn't there?
again. It is
There's
the
only
bomb.
three
No,
shows
we're
for the
more
next
and
one.
more.
We could talk about Martina Hingis, but there doesn't seem any
Oh,
time.
no, no. That's a bit...
Thank you so much. Kudos,
Curveball,
Alicia and
curveball.
Darcy.